Oh yeah, another first-person shooter is coming to Nintendo Switch. Yes, Crysis is making its way to Nintendo's most beautiful hybrid console. This critically acclaimed game was known back in the day for its insane visual graphics, which really pushed the limits of what all PCs and consoles could do. But not only that, it was also one fun experience, with all kinds of different gadgets to enhance one of the best shooter experiences out there. And with the addition of this game, the Switch's library is surely expanding with a lot of classics and fan-favorite games that allows people to experience them again. Not all of these are shooters, of course, with Skyrim, Dark Souls and LA Noire for instance. But the first-person pew-pew genre is one that is heavily represented in that same category as well, with the upcoming BioShock collection, Borderlands, Doom, Wolfenstein, Overwatch and now Crysis. So that got me thinking. We have a lot of the top-notch games already in there, but are there ones that are still missing? Those shooters that we loved back in the day that could really do with a port or remaster on the Switch to experience it again. Here is my top 5 first-person shooters that I would love to see on Switch. If you have 5 favorites, then be sure to let me know in the comments as well. But for now, let's begin with number 5. Alright, and since we already have the BioShock and Borderlands collection, why not add another one that people surely will enjoy? And for that, I like to look at a company that has been adding more and more games to the Nintendo Switch. Some classics and some newer ones. Ubisoft. But one of the franchises that we haven't seen yet of Ubisoft is one with multiple games and that is perfectly suited for Switch. Far Cry. Also a franchise that I really love. Now, with a lot of games under its belt starting in 2004, there is a lot to choose from here. But I would suggest picking some of the classic ones. Maybe everything between Far Cry 1 and 2, which are 7 games, believe it or not. Although almost most of them are basically the same game, just with added content and visual tweaks. And one of them, Paradise Lost, is actually a real shooter for arcade machines. So maybe the games 1, 2 and 3 are the better choices. The Far Cry games can be pretty different from one another, with them really evolving the franchise with each installment, especially in the earlier entries. But nature is always a huge part of the appeal, taking place in the most exotic locations, which you often have to use to your own advantage. In Instinct's Predator, you are able to blend in with the environment and transform into some sort of aggressive beast to attack your enemies. In Far Cry 2, the world really becomes a sandbox, which makes it cool to make use of the day and night cycles and different type of weathers. And Far Cry 3 is story-wise often considered the best one among them, with a lot of positive reviews. Well, the game also made for a bigger map, more weapons and just a richer experience in general. Ubisoft and Nintendo are friends, which we have learned time and time again. And with Far Cry, I think you have a pretty big new audience for trying out your games, especially the classics. So I wouldn't be surprised if this ever happens. And let's jump from one collection to the next. What can I say? Ya boy likes his collections. Only this one is from Microsoft, and it actually already exists, just not on Switch. I think you can already guess what I'm talking about. The Halo Master Chief Collection, including Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, 3 ODST, Reach and Halo 4. Holy mackerel, that's a lot of Halo for your bucks. Now we all know of course that this collection is property of the Xbox gang, but as Nintendo and Xbox have had a good relationship recently, I believe there is some room for this game. With Banjo and Smash, Minecraft stuff, Ori and Cuphead. Now, Phil Spencer recently mentioned that people shouldn't get their hopes up for all Xbox stuff to appear on Switch. But I still want to talk about this game because I think it could be something very interesting. The Master Chief Collection is a symphony of the first couple of Halo games, which are 6 in total. So that's a pretty big package. As the name suggests, they mostly revolve around our boy Master Chief. You know, that one guy that a lot of people want in Smash. Surely one of Microsoft's biggest mascots. This futuristic shooter needs little introduction. The games are incredibly fun, have a very rich story and world building, and also a great multiplayer. Not sure how that's going to work with Switch's online service, but I would love to play some classic Halo online on the Switch. I think this one might be a bit difficult to get on the console, but at the same time it would make a lot of people very happy if it one day came to be. And you know what's something I really like? Star Wars! God damn it, I love it! From the movies, TV shows, books, and especially video games. There is so many good content to be found when you look into that digital space. With the recent Jedi Fallen Order, Knights of the Old Republic, LEGO Star Wars, you name it. And it seems that recently they have been bringing over some of the classics to the Switch, with Jedi Academy and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. So if they are adding more beloved Star Wars games, why not add one of my personal favorite shooters, Star Wars Battlefront? And then the second one to be specific. And yes, I'm talking about the classics, not the newer ones. And I understand that a lot of people might prefer Republic Commando, which is also amazing. But let me get back to that in a sec. I absolutely adored the classic Star Wars Battlefront 2. It had so many great things going for it. Epic battles spanning all the 6 movies at the time, heroes from the classic and prequel era, which you could also use in specific hero-only battles, a story mode from the perspective of the 501st, hunt mode where you could play as specific Star Wars creatures, and so much more. And I know you can play this game in third and first person, but hey, first person is in there, so it counts, I guess. You could pick the class that would work the best for you, which in my case was often just a regular clone trooper. And then you could wage war on your mortal enemy. And if you had enough points, you could transform into your favorite Jedi, with Obi-Wan for instance. Or evil Sith, like Darth Maul. Even some more obscure characters were in there, like Ki-Adi-Mundi. It was an amazing package of a game, and something that I'm sure a lot of people would want to play on Switch as well. And yes, Republic Commando is also up there, and if it was up to me, I would just add both. But at the same time, I never really got far into that game, so it's difficult for me to judge. But hey, more Star Wars is always a good thing. So we talked about a lot of good third-party stuff here, but what about a game a little closer to home? Goldeneye for the Nintendo 64. A truly classic Nintendo game that many people hold dearly to their heart. And while it was a Nintendo exclusive at the time, it was developed by Rare. And it was for an IP, which was James Bond of course, that they don't own themselves. So this is a bit of a tricky one, but it would be something amazing to get on Switch. This James Bond game was a revolution at the time, and for many their first experience with multiplayer. Not by playing online, but by sitting in front of your TV with 4 people, trying to convince them that you're not looking at their screen while you hunt them down in tight corridor levels. There was also a story mode, which was really cool. And many faces and locations from the movies could be found there as well. And one of the best things was the soundtrack by Grant Kirkhope. God, he really took that James Bond soundtrack to the next level, with unique compositions that worked perfectly in a video game setting. Now they have remade this game before, and it was somewhat positively received, but not in the way that the original had. So I'm not sure if a remake is the way to go, or just to make the classic game available. I mean, if they would ever do Nintendo 64 games on Switch, I think this would be a perfect contender for that. But like I said, making stuff with the James Bond rights is difficult these days, so I doubt it will happen. But it would be a great thing to see nonetheless. Often named one of the best single-player shooters of all time. And for many people, it might even just be the best game of all time in their opinion, period. Half-Life 2. Many of the games that I talked about today are often driven by a multiplayer mode. But man, this one you surely have to play it for the single player. With a rich story, immersive world and some crazy gameplay mechanics, like a gravity gun, which does some really cool stuff. In this game you play as Gordon Freeman. This handsome alien killer is an employee of the Black Mesa Research Facility. And it's up to you to kill some headcrabs and discover some gruesome secrets. I won't go into too much of the story, as I think that's something you should really discover for yourself. But what I can tell you is that the game is something else when it comes to entertainment. Who doesn't like to hit people in the face with a crowbar? Or what about shooting regular objects around with the gravity gun? Pure chaos. The game is developed by Valve, which are the makers of more suitable games that would be great on Switch. And if we are talking about first-person shooters, then I would also say that Portal would be a very good option. And I know it's not a shooter in the sense of blasting people in the face, but it is a game with some heavy puzzle elements, which could also be something very interesting, besides all the violence that we have been talking about today. Valve has even more great options, but if I had to pick one, I would say Half-Life 2 is the way to go. I mean, they just released their new VR game, Half-Life Alyx. So I think that it could go hand in hand with some more love for the game that really brought the franchise on the map, which is Half-Life 2. Only this time on Nintendo Switch. So that's it, 5 first-person shooters that I would love to see on Switch. Now there are of course many more out there which would be amazing. And these are just some of my favorite more classic-like titles. Some newer ones would also be cool. I mean, Doom Eternal is on its way to be released on Switch, so that's as new as you are going to get it right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we would see even more titles soon. But that got me really wondering, if you got to pick 5 first-person shooters to appear on Switch, then which ones would that be? Old, new, Nintendo, third party, it doesn't matter. I would love to know. Put them down in a top 5 in the comments. My friend, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the Xpref channel for many more videos like this. Because if you like Nintendo, I think you are going to like this channel as well. And if you would like to keep the discussion going, then be sure to join the Discord as well, where a fun community loves to talk about Nintendo and other video games every day. Link is in the description. If you enjoyed and you want to click that like button, then that would make you a very cool person. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.